garden really is coming along, isn't it? Look at the size of these beans. And there's a ton of little sprouts coming out. Like you're saying last week, Mandy, oh, these tomatoes growing like weeds at this rate, they're going to take over this whole space. The basil, though, I think if we give that another week or so, there'll be enough sprouts out that we can trim it back and it'll start to bush out. So we'll be eating quite well there. But this is what I'm particularly excited about, is our arugula back here, growing like weeds. Growing so much that I think we should harvest a little bit. As for this parsley, I'm not quite sure what's going on either. I find that the new shoots are coming out quite nice, but some of this older stuff is looking quite droopy, so I think I'm just going to chop that off as well. Alright, I'm going to get a little bit of sewing done. Then I'm going to head to the kitchen, we'll make some breakfast, okay? This is my current pants pattern, and I'm realizing that I don't think this is very well drawn out. Like, this is the zipper in the front, and it goes super deep, which then in turn pushes the hip out and rounds it out, which isn't right. I did some Googling and looked up various different patterns, and in general, the zipper is supposed to be quite shallow. And then in the back here, this angle here, which comes down underneath to this rather intense point, doesn't look right either. What I've learned is that for the most part, most pattern pieces are supposed to be a 90 degree angle on corners. And so this of course would be the front, and then this would be the back, which means these pieces have to line up like this. However, this should be a nice curve. It shouldn't come to a point like that. Moral of the story, I think I gotta start from scratch. I did my Googles to see what options are out there for making a pattern for men's pants, and I discovered what is known as the Rundschau cutting system for men's trousers. It seems to be quite popular online. It seems like a lot of people base their pattern off of that. Now it is from 1959, which means it's a bit of an outdated cut, but I'm gonna do it anyways, and then I think I can just adjust accordingly. And yes, this is electrical tape. I forgot to buy myself fresh Scotch tape before I started this week's video. And so up first here, what I'm doing is just the basic blocks. So this is up to the knee here, and then I have to do the inseam, which is from the bottom up to the crotch. So add my 2 inches of hemming at the bottom. These are measurements that I've got from both measuring myself and from pants that fit me really well. Okay, so this is the basic skeleton for the front. So that's the very bottom, the hem, where it folds over. That's my knee. This is the very bottom of the crotch. This is the widest part of my bum, or what's known as my seat. And then finally the top. Now it's time to actually draw out the shape. So, move in for place of hips. 2/10 of the difference of the seat and the waist measurements. But hold on, I gotta figure out how far from the center this is. Top side width equals 1/4 of the waist measurement. I was realizing very quickly just how complicated and technical this process was gonna be. These are the instructions that I'm following, and this is sort of the graphics of what that process looks like. But unfortunately, this PDF is really low quality, but I managed to find the graphics themselves on a forum where they're all laid out in high resolution. So I'm kind of flipping back and forth between these two. And then what I'm doing is I'm basically, see these little letters here? I'm always trying to so what I'm doing right now is that's the outside line here, and then I have to bring it into the hip there, and then that's the total width of the front, and then the lines, and you see all these like G and G1, and then M and M1, and then there's B, but then there's lowercase b. So, let me get to work here. I'm gonna put on a jam for you guys. I found some tasty tunes lately that you might enjoy. Watch me work and time lapse, and then we'll check in once I get a little closer to the end with this front piece, alright?
I need a romantic girl, pretty little thing to love me like a romantic girl, pretty thing to love me like a sound, love me like a sound. She like the sound of that. I hate the sound of us apart. We like the sound of this. So we've been partners from the start. We've been bad ever since. I like to lose her in the dark. I think I found a kiss. I think she thinks I'm fine. I think she loves my style. I'm going to make her mine. Oh mine. Oh mine.
Okay, so I got the basic block figured out now. So it goes, that's the top there, in for the crotch here. Already looking much better. And then straight down for the leg, at the bottom here, and then up along the side. The last step for this front piece is now just figuring out how to properly curve everything. Again, very boring to hear me drone on about. So,
what's the plan, Stan? Guess what? Chicken butt. I do the hoopa papa.
So that is the finished pattern piece. The purple being the block, and then I used the blue for the curve, so that's the final shape. And then you'll notice up front here, there's actually two of them. And I didn't do this for the last one, but I learned for this one is that adding in the little extra for the one side on the front is so that way on the zipper in the front, it tucks underneath, right in there. Anyways, don't want to show my... You get it. Fold over along the hemline at the bottom and trim this out. Now I'm going to cut to the outside, and then when I cut out the actual fabric, I'll just trim inwards. For this back piece, I once again start off with a lot of the basic skeletons. So, got my bottom here, this is the knee length. Now I base it on the shape of the front, but as you can tell, things get a little bit complicated. The Germans are very precise. So, wouldn't you know it, I've got another song for you. Hit that time lapse, and I'll check in with you once I got these basics sorted.
Pretty girls all around you, fooling around you, making you a fool all around you. Pretty unsurprising, honestly, and no conundrum. I heard from Nina, Jenny, Lisa, Chrissy, and Cassandra. I ain't interested in being a pretty name on your list. I got dreams and aspirations with pretty lips to kiss. My mama ain't give up all as a worry. Somebody's tryst when somebody's gotta miss. Waiting at home.
I clearly didn't figure everything out perfectly right straight out of the gate, but I've got the basic block shape again. And what I'm realizing is that, so this here is the original front piece right here, as you see. And then essentially for the back piece, what I do is I sort of take that shape and then twist it so that way when the fabric folds back in and around the bum, it basically cups and hugs, you know? And then just like the front piece, the final step was to smoothen out that very geometric shape with my French curve and then cut it out. Not quite done yet though. One more little thing. So I want the fly to be, let's say 5.5 inches. 5.5 inches down. Round out the bottom here. Now I know there's also the waistband, but that's literally just a rectangle, so I will figure that out when I actually sew. So this is the front piece. This is the old front piece. And notice the difference in the curve, it's almost twice as much. And then the hip has a much more gradual, gentle slope. And then with the back piece, again, the curvature here with that point feels so much more correct than the old one, which when you look at it, it's got this real point to it and then an odd arch on it. But the sewing is for next week, so now have a little breakfast. I'm going to start by chopping up these greens that we just got out of the garden. Just roughly, doesn't need to be perfect, but there we go. Put that in the bowl. Come the end of the year, hopefully we'll be using our own tomatoes for this. Put those in the bowl too. You two like bacon, yes? Everybody likes bacon, right? Those veggies are fragrant, aren't they? And now finally, let's crack in a few eggs. That's right, you two. We are having an omelet for breakfast. Give that the old mix around. Got the coffee going there as well. And now personally, I like to use my saved up bacon lard rather than an oil. A little bit more flavor. Okay, here we go. Let that run down a little bit and flip. Alright, you two, breakfast is ready. You know, I'm really happy that we were able to come together as a family. Let's try what we've done here. Oh, that's quite nice. Good work, you two. Good work, us. So tell me, Manny, what's been exciting in your life lately? You did what? With who? And you put it in where?
Ganos e engananos, lua e dinos, lua e panos. Iar ki mangina contra kubisilong, gameste machil, isam sertu kumay na fio.